Today we're going to go ahead and go over our final review sheet, numbers 21 through 40. The first one we're going to go over is number 21. It says use cross products to solve the proportion. So Ashley, help me out. How do I do this with cross products?
We're supposed to trade.
Okay, very good. And then what do I do? All right, then what? All right, very good. What you do to one side, you've got to do to the other, and C equals what? 1. How many of you got the same answer as she did? Okay, if you didn't get the same answer, just erase it on your worksheet and then fix it.
7 times 10 equals 10R.
Very good. Okay, 7 times 10 equals 10R, then what?
Then you multiply 7 times 10.
Which is?
70 equals 10R.
70 equals 10R. Then what do I do to get that R by itself?
Divide by 10 on both sides.
You got to get rid of that 10, so you divide by 10 on both sides, and you find out that R equals 7. All right? So on your test, it's going to ask you 3 different ways to solve a proportion. Yesterday, we had gone over equivalent ratios and algebra, and then today we did the cross products, okay? So the main thing is on your final, just make sure that you look carefully to see what the instructions said. So for this one, you want to make sure you use cross products, okay? Let's go to the next one. There are 180 calories in 30 grams of walnuts. How many calories are there in a 100-gram serving of walnuts? Write a proportion. That's the key part right there, a proportion. Do you guys remember what a proportion is? Something that equals the same thing, but more specific than just something. 2 fractions that are set equal to each other. So I've got to come up with right now, since it says proportion, 2 fractions with an equal sign in between. So help me out. What should I do for my 2 fractions?
180 calories over 30 grams.
Okay, 180 calories over 30 grams. That means there are 180 calories in 30 grams. And I want you guys to have your units attached right there, because when we set it equal to something else, you've got to have calories on top and grams on bottom. So what should go on top? X over 100 grams. Do you guys agree with her? Listen right there. Do you see grams? You want this to be the same. That is going to be the same as that. All right? Grams on the bottom, which means since this right here is calories, what do you think this is going to be? It's also going to be calories. So now, Sherelle, how do I find this answer?
I'll use cross products.
Okay, she chose to do cross products, so she's going to be multiplying this by this. Tell me how you did it.
180 times 100 equals 30x.
Okay, then what?
18,000 over 30. But 18,000 equals 30x.
Good job. Then what?
Divide by 30 on both sides.
Good job. You want to get that x all by itself. This will cancel out, and what's your answer?
600 calories.
600 calories, she said. Was there anyone else who got that same answer? Who got a different answer? All right, 600 calories is what you wanted, all right? And once again, you can go back through to your question where it says how many calories are there in a 100-gram serving, so you know your answer needs to be in calories. Good job, Cheryl. It takes 4 quarts of paint to cover 560 square feet. How many quarts of the same paint are needed to cover 140 square feet? Once again, it says to write a proportion. Tell me, what is a proportion? 2 fractions set equal to each other. So Jakari, help me out. What kind of a fraction should I have here? Good job. 4 quarts, and thank you for telling me units, over 560 square feet. Now that's 1 fraction. I need another one set equal to each other. So what's the other fraction going to be? X over 140 square feet. The main thing, once again, you have to remember is keep your units the same. Square feet on bottom, square feet on bottom there. So if I have quarts on top, what's going to be on top there? Quarts, okay? So Jakari, keep going. How do I find this answer? Okay, you're going to use cross multiply.
4 times 140 equals 560.
Very good. Then what?
You're going to multiply 24 times 140 equals 560.
Good job.
And bring down 560.
Okay, and now our goal is to get that x by itself, so what do we have to do?
Divide 560 on both sides.
Divide 560 on both sides, and what do you get?
1/4.
You get 1/4, okay? Great job telling me what the units are also. It says to write the percent as a fraction in simplest form. So 88%, what is that? 88 out of how many? 88 out of 100. Good job. Now, Addison, is that as low as it will go? Can it be more simple or reduced? 22 over 25 would be reduced in simplest form, okay? So all you do is every time you will set the percent on top of 100, because 62% means 62 out of 100, or 88% means 88 out of 100, okay? So the next one, Kayla, what do I do?
Take 62 equals up to 31 over 50.
So this is 62 over how many?
100.
Over 100.
And that equals 31 over 50.
All right, and is that reduced?
Yes, ma'am.
That is as reduced as it will go. Okay, how many of you got that one correct on your own? All right, let's go to the next one. Find the fraction as a percent and round the percent to the nearest tenth if necessary. So I want you to put 5 over 22 into your calculators. Okay, 0.2272. It's just going to keep on going, 727272. So my instructions have said to round your percent to the nearest tenth. What would my answer be if I need to round that? Let's change that decimal to a percent. What do you get? Okay, 22.72. And now if we round it to the nearest tenth, what would we get? 22.7%. Okay? 8 over 25, what would that be as a decimal, guys? 0.32. And when I change that into a percent, what's my answer? 32%. This one, please, Kayla, write the percent as a decimal. What do I have to do with that decimal point? Which way does it move? To the right or the left? Which way does it move? To the right or to the left? To the left. How many places? 2. 1, 2. You put zeros in there, so what's my answer? 0.009. Okay, next up, Mason. 327%. Where's my decimal point at? Where's the decimal point at for 327%? It's at the end of the number. I've got to move it how many places? To the left or the right? To the left. What's my answer? 3.27. Use a proportion to answer the following question. So one more time, what is a proportion? Two fractions that are set equal to each other. So I need you to start off with something that's two fractions in the formula set equal to each other. So what would that be? What's my original fraction that I need? Is over of equals, what is it? P over 100. So if you know that it says to use a proportion, you must use a proportion. Remember, a proportion is two fractions that are set equal to each other. So make sure now we're going to go ahead and start plugging our things in. The first thing that's easiest to find is if there's a P. What does that P stand for? Percent. Is there a percent in my...
54.
There is a 54. So all I'm going to do is take that 54 and I'm going to plug it in right there for that P, okay? So now I've got 54 over 100 equals, and I've got to figure out, do I know my is or do I know my of? I know the of because it says of 75. So whatever number comes after the word is or of, that's what you're going to plug in. So we don't know is, but we do know of. Now how do I find my answer? You're going to do your cross products, okay? So multiply these two by these two. So I've got now 100x equals 75 times 54. What is 75 times 54? 4,050. How do I get that x by itself? Divide by 100 on both sides. When you do that, what do you get? 40.5. So here's what it says. What number is 54% of 75? Is that a number? Yes, it is a number. Do I need to change it to a percent? No, you're going to leave it just like that, okay? Go ahead and go on to the next one. Once again, it still is asking us to use a proportion. One more time, what is a proportion? Two fractions that are set equal to each other. So what are the two fractions I'm going to start with?
Is over of equals P over 100.
Okay, so do I have my percent? No, it says what percent, so that's my mystery I'm going to be looking for is that percent. Do I know my is?
Yes.
What is it?
12.
12 is 12, so I'm easily just going to plug in the 12. Do I know my of?
40.
Yes, it says of 40. Whatever number comes after the of is your of, all right? So once again, let's go ahead and do cross products. I'm going to multiply those two together, 12 times 100. And then I will go ahead and multiply these two together, 40 times P. All right, what is 12 times 100?
12,000.
Not 12,000.
1,200.
1,200 equals 40P. How do I get P by itself? Divide by 40 on both sides. P equals what?
30.
30. And once again, you know that your answer is supposed to be a percent because it says what percent, so the answer is 30%. All right, because I could plug that back in there, and that is 30 over 100.
I did that.
There are slightly different parts to this instructions. It says use the percent equation to answer the following questions. So you no longer want to do it with a proportion. You want to use the percent equation. What is the percent equation, guys?
P times of equals is.
P times of equals is. Do I know my P? No, it asks me what percent, so that means it's unknown. Do I know my of? What is it?
30.
Of 30. So P times 30. Do I know my is?
Yes, it's 9.
Is 9. How do I get P by itself? Divide by 30 on both sides. Ashley, what is 9 divided by 30? Okay, 0.3. Now, I want this to be as a percent. Did that come out as a percent, guys?
Nope.
How do I turn 0.3 into a percent? Move it twice. So what's my answer? P equals 30%. And then if you go back to your original problem, once again, you can see it asks what percent of 30 is 9. Then I can see my answer came out as a percent. Once again, it says to use the percent equation to answer the following questions. So what is the percent equation? All right, do I know my P?
Yes.
What is it?
0.5.
0.5. Why did you change it to a decimal?
Because you can't do it with a percent.
You can't put 50% down there. 50% means 50 over 100, which is the same thing as 0.5. What's my of? 70. What's my is?
35.
We don't know it yet. It's an X. So now, what's 0.5 times 70? 35 equals X. If I go back through, it says what number is 50% of 70? What number is it? Does that answer make sense? Yeah, 50% is half. So if we think I'm trying to figure out what half of 70 is, and 35 is half of 70. Okay? Always go back and check to see if your answer makes sense. Next up, write the percent of change formula. What is it, Kayla?
That is no.
I want something with a percent of change. Think about change. Tati? Okay, what does AOC stand for? Amount of change. So if you think about what that means, the amount of change is the same thing for the percent of change formula. So just kind of think of those words when you're trying to come up with this for your final. Amount of change over the original is the percent of change formula. Next up, write the percent equation. Addison, what is it? What is the percent? P times of equals is. All right, make sure these formulas are memorized for your final. Next one, find the percent of change and tell me whether it's an increase or a decrease. Let's just figure out that second part first, whether it's an increase or a decrease. If I originally started with $175 and now my new amount is $70, did I increase or did I decrease? I decreased, okay? So you can clearly tell what I had decreased. It went down, okay? So before you do anything else, write that down on your paper. Now we've got to find the percent of change. We just came up with it. What is the percent of change formula? P equals the amount of change over the original price. How do I find what the amount of change is?
P equals 175 minus 70 over 175.
Okay, you're trying to find the amount of change. I had 175, but now I have 70. So in order to find out how much I changed, you just will subtract those to find the difference between the two. But it also says to put it over the original. What was the original dollar amount? 175. So what is 175 minus 70? 105 over 175. Ashley, what is that as a decimal? Okay, 0.6. And how do I turn that into a percent? You're going to move it 2 times over, and what's your answer? 60%. Good job. So we know that that was a 60% decrease in price. All right? I want you to do the next one on your own. If you think you have it correct, go ahead and stand beside your chair. All right, almost everybody got that one correct. So let's start with our formula. The percent of change equals what? Amount of change over the original. How do you find the amount of change? You got to subtract the two of them, okay? So 70 minus 40 is how much it changed. And originally, there was 40, okay? So I've got 30 over 40, which decimal would be 0.75. And as a percent, it's... Now, if I had 40 and now I have 70, is that an increase or a decrease?
Increase.
It was a 75% increase. Questions? All right, good job. Most of you had that one correct. We're going to go through just a couple more. Use the information to find the new price. So not just what the markup is, but what the new price would be. Wholesale. Somebody went, they got it for $35, but they are going to mark it up 25%. If I mark something up, is it going to get bigger or smaller? It gets bigger because it's getting marked up. So know in the end that your answer should be bigger than $35. How do I find this?
25 times 35.
Okay, basically what we're doing is we're using the percent equation. You have to change that 25% to a decimal, that's my 0.25, times of. Of is going to be the original amount, and then the is going to help us to find what the markup would be, okay? So when you're doing this, once again, this is your original, and this will be the part that you're looking for. All right, so what is 0.25 times $35? $8.75. Is this my new price? No, what is that?
The amount it marked up.
That was the markup price. So now if I have to mark something up, what do I do with that?
Add it to the original.
The original price was $35. I'm going to add $8.75. It asked me for the new price. What's the new price? $43.75. Okay? Does it make sense for my final answer to be bigger than the original? Yes, you want it to be bigger because it is a markup, okay? So now let's look at our final example for today. Something was originally $32, but it's been discounted 10%. If something's got a discount, is the price going to go up or down? It goes down. It's on sale, okay? So check to see if your final answer has gone down in price. I want you guys to do it on your own. How do I find what my discount is going to be?
Multiply 0.10 times 32.
Okay, I'm going to turn this into a decimal, 0.1 or 0.10 times the original price. What is that? $3.20. Is that my new price? No, that would be great, but this is just the discount, okay? So now that's not my new price. How do I figure out what to do? Subtract it from the original. So here's what I just saw as I walked around. I saw a lot of people who had come up with this. What is wrong with that? When you've got a dollar sign and decimal point, you have to make sure that there's always two numbers after that decimal point, okay? So the correct answer is $28.80. All right? Tonight's homework is to finish up the rest of this review sheet. There's still 20 problems left, so tonight's homework you're going to be working on 41 through 60, and we will go over those ones on Monday.